happenings. This is your host Ram back with you as promised on the Cricket Happening show, and we are looking at two day test matches that happened. One of the matches, which is the traditional Boxing Day test match, which happened at the Melbourne Cricket Ground, the MCG as it is fondly called, and well, New Zealand were actually, I was very surprised to read that the Trans-Tasman rivals of the Aussies, New Zealand, were having a test match against the Aussies after a gap of 32 years. And that is really something that is very, very strange because they are the Trans-Tasman neighbors and they are playing each other after 32 years in a Boxing Day test match. It comes as a real surprise here for me. But nevertheless, it was a crowd at the MCG at the Melbourne Cricket Ground. It was absolutely packed to capacity. The crowds was milling around, and what a day we had at the MCG on the first day of the first Test match between the Aussies and New Zealand. And New Zealand were the ones who actually went on to win the toss and immediately put the Aussies in. And the Aussies finished the day at 257 for 4. They would be pretty happy with that. So honors could be said that honors were even on that particular day. Labuschagne once again getting on, not going on to a century 63. His consistency is something which is going to be spoken of for quite a long time. And then we had Stephen Smith holding it for the Aussies, which is his favorite hunting ground, as we all know. Tons of runs at the MCG. He was not out on 77 at close of play. And the other probably, while I'm talking, probably 1 hour before the match, the players entered on the first day on the Boxing Day Test match at Centurion Park between England and the South Africans. They finished at 207 for 9 with the very gets. But for batting, temperatures were at a good high, and the crowd was absolutely, the stadium was absolutely filled to capacity. It's good to see, and which is something one could expect in Australia on a Boxing Day with a public holiday there. So let's talk about this game. So as I said, New Zealand actually went on to win the toss, and they decided that they would insert the Aussies into bat first. So the hosts. The host crowd would have been pretty happy to see their heroes come out to bat. So David Warner and Joe Burns actually walked in, and what a start for New Zealand. In the very first over, Trent Boult struck by going through the bat and pad gap of Joe Burns, and Joe Burns very dejectedly walking back to the pavilion on Boxing Day in the very first over as he was clean bowled by Trent Boult for naught. So that was wicket number 1 for the Kiwis. And that would have really given them a real burst of confidence as Marnus Labuschagne was walking into a huge roar of the crowd as he walked in to join David Warner in the middle. David Warner definitely did not look very confident, but definitely he was there along with Marnus Labuschagne, and they slowly, it was very clear that both had to actually stay at the wicket for quite a long time to actually improve matters. And they pretty much did it as the score slowly and steadily rose to 61. And that was the time. And the bowling was pretty good. Tim Southee was bowling in the right areas. Trent Boult was looking good. And when the score reached 61 with Warner on 41 with 3 boundaries, there was tragedy for the Aussies. As the next wicket to go was David Warner. And let's see what happened. So David Warner, this was a real catch. The ball was actually flying to Ross Taylor, who was positioned at first slip. But second slip, it was Tim Southee who actually putting in a dive. The ball is absolutely going into Taylor's hands, but it was intercepted by Tim Southee in the second slip, diving full length and sprawling all the way towards first slip, but grabbing it, which was then. And David Warner was walking back to the pavilion, and the bowler was none other than the aggressive, lion-hearted Neil Wagner, who took the wicket as he shifted all away from David Warner. David Warner fell caught Wagner 2-1 and end of David Warner. And Manos Labuschagne now was joined in by Stephen Smith, roared from the crowd as Stephen Smith walked in. A bit of boo as well as Stephen Smith walked in to join Manos. Manos Labuschagne, as I said, was bursting with confidence. He absolutely had no issues at all, leaving the ball beautifully outside the off stump. Getting onto that pull shot as and when it presented itself, as far as short deliveries were concerned, and he was doing a good job, and he was driving beautifully on the up, which is good to see. Manos Labuschagne, as usual, was looking and playing with supreme confidence as Stephen Smith was slowly joining Labuschagne. And Stephen Smith himself was watchful, which was pretty much needed, as he joined Manos Labuschagne and slowly started pulling the Aussies away from that with a partnership which yielded 84 runs. Stephen Smith also played some good strokes, but as I said, it was all about waiting for the loose ball for both the batsmen. And Neil Wagner was someone who tested Stephen Smith with his short deliveries, but Stephen Smith probably had found the panacea for that, I would say, where he was troubled, as you would remember, when Aussies went to New Zealand. But here, in fact, he had definitely improved. He had probably worked on it, and Stephen Smith was even able to hook Neil Wagner for 4. But there was quite a bit of ducking and weaving, getting the ball on the anatomy. But as you know, Neil Wagner is someone who is a very lion-hearted bowler. And at the other end, Grandhomme was someone who was chipping in with his military medium pace that he bowls. But the good thing was that Grandhomme was able to move the deliveries beautifully, which was good to see. But that was going on. Neil Wagner was looking excellent. Manos Labuschagne, as I said, was playing with supreme confidence. But then one noticed that there is a particular spot, the first day itself, in the good length spot, one could say, that the ball was actually rising. Now we are talking about Manos Labuschagne now. I am going to talk about how his wicket was taken. Now, this was pretty sort of a dismissal where Labuschagne would have not been happy about, because this was a good length ball which was leaving Labuschagne outside the off stump. He actually left the delivery, but the ball was bouncing much higher. What a shame that the ball actually hit the elbow and ricocheted onto the stumps, and that was the end. The off stump was hit, and Labuschagne had to walk back dejectedly. It was gone. Clean bowled Grandhomme, 63, 6 fours, 1 6. So 144 for, and then the next batsman to join was Matthew Wade. Now Matthew Wade, it was very interesting. Matthew Wade was really tested by Neil Wagner, who had been testing all the batsmen, but Matthew Wade and Neil Wagner had a real battle in front, a bit of chirping between both. And as you know, Neil Wagner is someone who does not go without a fight against the opposition batsman. And actually, I really, I feel it is good for cricket, because Neil Wagner is such a person who really gives it back. I mean, in the sense, there's a lot of chirping going on, and it was good to see such battles which happens. Neil Wagner was absolutely on the money. He was the one who was the best bowler, according to me. And as things were going on, Stephen Smith was slowly settling in, got to his 50. And finally, this was things were just going on with Matthew Wade really waiting, not really taking much risk. But he was a victim of the bowling of Grandhomme. Now this was a ball which was outside the off stump, and he drew Matthew Wade into the drive, and actually Matthew Wade probably was thinking the ball was going to swerve in, but on the other hand, the ball swerved away and was all over from Matthew Wade as BJ Watling took the catch. Wade was walking back out for 38 with 3 boundaries, and the Aussies scored at 216 for 3 at that particular juncture. After that, Travis Head walked in. Stephen Smith definitely knew that his wicket is something which will have a big price now, because he is the main person now, along with Travis Head in the middle. And Stephen Smith saw the Aussies to close of play with an unbeaten 77 to his name, 8 fours and 1 6. Travis Head was not out on 25 with 3 boundaries as stumps were drawn for the day, and the score at 277. So 257, sorry, for 4. And the bowling, Trent bowled 20 overs, 2 mains, 1 for 60. Saudi, none for 63. Grandholm, 2 for 48. And I think today I would definitely go on to say that Neil Vank was pick of the bowlers, but Grandholm was not far behind at all. I thought Neil Vank and Grandholm together would be the ones who would have made a very good impression with the ball yesterday. 1 for 40 for Neil Wagner, 2 for 48 for Grandholm, and Mitchell Santner. And Mitchell Santner was hit for 2 sixes. One was hit by beautifully using twinkling feet. Stephen Smith came down the wicket and dropped him into the crowd. And then it was the turn of Manas Labuschagne, Mitchell Santner for a wonderful 6, and then repeating it with another big one into the pickets. So that is as far as this particular match is concerned. Now we go on to the next match. I'm sure the second day's play is going to be pretty interesting in Australia, no doubt about it, at the MCG. Now we look at the next match, the next Boxing Day Test match. First day's play at the Centurion Park in the first Test match of the tour between South Africa and England. And let's see who won the toss here. Just wanting to tell you, South Africa were the ones who batted first, but and the toss basically was won by England. So actually, both the Boxing Day Test matches, we are seeing that basically the non-host team has been winning the toss and inserting the opposition, and that's what precisely happened here in South Africa as well. And it was the England captain Joe Root calling right and inserting the host South Africa to bat first. And South Africa, well, again, it was a similar start to what happened in the Boxing Day Test match at the MCG, as Dean Elgar was returning back to the pavilion, and this was something which was the very, very first delivery of the series, and there was a wicket. It was James Anderson. Anderson was the one who actually picked up the wicket, and what a breakthrough for them. A golden breakthrough, one could call it, because it was of the very first delivery that Jimmy Anderson got Dean Elgar absolutely strangled outside the leg stump. And this was Jimmy Anderson delivering his first ball in Test cricket after a gap of 5 months. Now, this was absolutely a loosener, one could say, as we call it in cricket. It was an absolute loosener, the first ever delivery. And Elgar has been guilty of playing such strokes and getting himself out. One has seen it in the past as well. He walked inside the line of the ball trying to flick the delivery in the backward square, but it was all over. He did not connect it properly. The edge was snapped up by the keeper, Jonathan Bairstow, and it was the first wicket which was gone for the South Africans, as Dean Elgar was out for naught, and that was a big blow, as Dean Elgar is someone who is a very, very vital cog in the South African scheme of things, especially considering that the South Africans are in a rebuilding phase. It was very unfortunate to see Dean Elgar being out of the very first delivery. Then Aiden Markram and the talented young Zubair Hamza got in. Zubair Hamza played one beautiful, gorgeous cover drive, which really stood it, and really he was holding its pose there. Aiden Markram played some few good strokes, but then Sam Curran, the bowler of the day, picked up the wicket. Aiden Markram was caught by Bairstow off the bowling of Curran, and this was another leg side delivery. This time by Sam Curran to really chipping the delivery as the ball squared him up, and the regenerated, and that was over. And actually was going to basically chip the ball, but as the ball actually straightened and it ended up with Baristo actually taking the catch. So he was gone. Aiden Markram out for 20 with 4 boundaries, and the score at 32-2. Zubair Hamza now had his captain du Plessis joining him, and has played some beautiful shots in his knock of 39, especially the gorgeous cover drive what absolutely stood out. But Zubair Hamza was a victim of the bowling of Stuart Broad. Stuart Broad actually nipping the wicket of Zubair Hamza. Now let's see, and then the partnership, which actually started. I mean, they started losing wickets at regular intervals as when Zubair Hamza left the scene out to the bowling of Stuart Broad. He was gone for 39, and the score stood at that particular time at 71-3. This was Broad actually getting the delivery to shape away from him, and the ball actually went to the left of the fielder. Ben Stokes had slipped, taking the catch. Du Plessis was also a victim of the bowling of Broad. He was caught by Root of the bowling of Broad for 29, 5 boundaries. Rassie van der Dussen had a very unfortunate test debut. Rassie van der and Dwayne Pretorius were the ones who were the test debutants in the South African camp. But Dwayne Pretorius, in fact, Rassie van der Dussen was a victim of the bowling of Sam Curran. Now, Sam Curran, as I said, was the best bowler today. So let's have a look. It was this was a ball which was basically angled in across the right-hander, and a beautiful delivery. I thought it just kissed the outside edge of the bat, and Root has actually gobbled up the catch. And that was the end of Van der Dussen, out for 6 with 1 boundary, and not a good debut. Probably he would be looking up at his second innings to make amends for that. And then definitely this was a position where South Africa was struggling. 97-4 at that stage, and it became 111-5, and then a partnership started. 87 runs partnership. We all know Quinton de Kock is someone who likes to play his natural game, and he was definitely full of strokes, no doubt about it. He was stroking the ball sweetly and perfectly, and Dwayne Pretorius, who was making his test debut as an all-rounder, was doing a good job as well, and both had put on an 87 runs partnership to really help the South Africans recover with this particular partnership. As that was going on, Pretorius fell as Sam Curran was the one who actually picked up his wicket, and this was a ball which was moving away from him, and that was the end of it, with Root taking the catch. So 198 for 6 when Pretorius left the scene, as Vernon Philander walked out, and de Kock was definitely looking good for a century, but Quinton de Kock had, in fact, just before stumps, fell to the bowling of Sam Curran. It was just a perfect link delivery, enough movement for de Kock to actually feather it, and by Butler behind the stumps. 245 for 7, with Pretorius out to the bowling of Curran as well. And then Keshav Maharaj was a victim of the bowling of Jofra Archer. Rabada was bowled absolutely at the stroke of stumps on the first day for 12, and which left Vernon Philander, who was not out, on 28 with 5 boundaries, as the score at 277 for 9 for the South Africans. So Sam Curran, the pick of the bowlers, 19 overs, 5 maidens, 57 runs and 4 wickets. Stuart Broad, 17.4 overs, 4 maidens, 52 runs and 3 wickets. 1 wicket apiece to James Anderson, Jofra Archer, and that was the story of the day at the Centurion. Well, dear fan subscribers, I'm really running short of time here. I have to pull my curtain down on this cricket show for today. Hope you all loved this broadcast, with more to come probably tomorrow. Now, that is something which I won't be able to promise, but definitely I will catch up with everything probably on the weekend. But always keep your eyes tuned or ears tuned to what's happening, and you can always check onto my cricket website, www.cricket-status.com, my Twitter page, Cricket Twitter, and also on YouTube, Cricket Happenings. So once again, thanks for all your company, dear friends, subscribers. This is your host, Ram, ending the broadcast for today. Thank you.